Chapter 56. None Shall Sleep. The operating theatre was wide, gleaming room with a wide glass window on one side. Big, bright lights were attached to the ceiling. They were so bright that you couldn't look directly at them, or you would see stars. Tom wheeled Sally on her bed into the centre of the room. "I am so excited," said Sally. "Good, we're just about to begin. Is everyone ready?" asked Tom. "Ready," replied Amber, Robin and the porter. "Not quite ready," called out George, who was fiddling with something. "Right, now I'm ready." "Have you selected the music, Robin?" asked Tom. "Yes," Robin replied. "As soon as you hear it start, let's all begin." As Robin placed one of his CDs into his player, the others took their respective places in the operating theatre. The music started. It was the unmistakable sound of the world's most famous opera aria, Nessun Dorma, by Puccini, from the opera Turandot. The English translation from Nessun Dorma is "None Shall Sleep," a fitting motto for the Midnight Gang. The recording was sung in Italian, and the translation is: "None shall sleep, none shall sleep, even you, O princess, in your cold room, watch the stars that tremble with love and hope." The words could be written about Sally. It was a fittingly majestic piece of music to accompany the next few minutes, which would represent a lifetime. From her bed, Sally watched with wonder as the children worked around her in the operating theatre. Robin was standing at the back of the room with a slide projector. As he headed, his beloved opera aria began. He flicked a switch on the projector and the machine whirred into life. The first slide was projected onto the wall of the operating theatre right in front of Sally. It read, "Exam results." Sally giggled. "Oh no!" Then Tom placed a black hat on Sally's head that had been made from a cereal box. Next, he handed her a rolled up piece of paper in a red bow. Sally unrolled the exam certificate to see to her delight that she'd received A stars in every subject imaginable. "Yes," she said, "I always knew I was a genius. It's just that no one else knows it yet." Then Robin pressed the button for the next slide. First car. The porter gave Tom a dinner plate to pass to Sally. It had been drawn on with a black felt-tip pen to make it look like a luxury steering wheel. The words Aston Martin, the famous car manufacturer, had been written on it. Then the pair started spinning Sally's bed around as the girl pretended to drive. To add to the sense of speed, George ran in the opposite direction past Sally's bed, holding small fake plastic Christmas trees. Then came first kiss. The porter then handed Tom a bunch of flowers and pushed him towards Sally. The boy bristled at the thought, so he passed the flowers to George. George obviously wasn't a fan of kissing either, and he passed the flowers on to Amber. Amber took charge and ordered Tom to wheel her towards Sally. Then she handed her friend the flowers and gave her a peck on the cheek. As this chapter of Sally's life ended, another began, a holiday in the sun. The porter produced 2 dining trays that George and Tom strapped to Sally's feet with string. Then the porter handed the girl a piece of rope with a handle at the end. At first, Sally looked completely mystified about what was happening. The other end of the rope was attached to Amber's wheelchair. Then the porter pushed the wheelchair forward, which pulled Sally upright onto the trays. She was water skiing. Sally laughed at the cleverness of it all. Next was wedding day. As Sally sat back down on her bed, Tom placed a bridal veil on her head. The veil had been made out of boxes and boxes of white tissues. George handed Sally back the bunch of flowers, and instantly the girl looked like a bride on her wedding day. Next, the porter produced a black top hat that was really a bucket. This was for the groom, but who was going to marry Sally tonight? The porter put the hat on Tom's head, who put it on George's head, who put it on Robin's head, who had no one to put it on. "What's going on?" asked Robin. "You're getting married," said George. "To a girl?" asked the boy. "Yes." "That's never going to happen," replied Robin. He took off his hat and passed it back to George, who put it on Amber's head. "Looks like you're marrying Amber," said the porter. "I would love to," replied Sally. The porter then handed Amber a large metal ring, which she placed on Sally's finger. Despite it not being gold and too big, and clearly from a shower curtain, a tear rolled down Sally's cheek. The wedding might not have been real, but the feeling was. Tom and George had a couple of bags of rice, and they threw them over the happy couple. The porter flicked the lights on and off to mimic a camera's flash. It was the perfect wedding shot. Tell me what you can see, called out Robin eagerly. Sally is crying, replied Tom. Happy tears or sad tears? Happy, cried Sally, wiping them away. Robin smiled and pressed the next button for the chapter Baby. At seeing this word, Sally began to giggle. How were they going to conjure up a baby? Surely they hadn't borrowed one from the maternity ward. George put on a nurse's hat and handed the girl a bundle wrapped in a blanket. Sally felt the bundle move and opened it to reveal Professor Pigeon under there. The bird was wearing little Sally's bonnet, fashioned from a rubber surgical glove. On seeing the bird's face, she smiled and she stroked its head tenderly. It cooed. Then the Midnight Gang was straight onto the next chapter in Sally's life, Job. The porter directed the boys to slide into view a hospital screen that was painted to make it look like the door of number 10 Downing Street, the famous home of the British Prime Minister. They placed it behind Sally, who chuckled. I always knew I'd get the top job. Meanwhile, the porter placed a crown on Amber's head. This was made from a strip of cereal packet cardboard. Brightly wrapped sweets had been sticky taped to the side. The different coloured shiny papers in white, green and red, Matron had eaten all the purple ones, gave the appearance of diamonds, emeralds and rubies. Robin flicked the light switch on and off. Click. It was like the flash of a camera taking a photograph of the Prime Minister meeting the Queen. Grandchildren, read the next slide. So soon, cried Sally, as she was handed 6 little baby pigeons that must have just hatched, wrapped up in a towel. Professor Pigeon had become a mother, and Sally a grandmother. 6 babies, cried Sally. 6 tuplets, said Amber. Not real babies, I hope, called out Robin. Baby pigeons, replied Sally. I love them all. As Nessa Dorma reached its thrilling crescendo, the Midnight Gang circled their friend's bed with the props and costumes from her life. Amber put her crown back on. George pushed the door to 10 Downing Street, round and round. The porter took the 6 baby pigeons back and pulled the rope so the girl could water ski again. Nessun Dorma came to a magnificent end with the opera singer holding the last note for what seemed like forever. Sally was helped to stand and took a bow. This is my life, cried the girl. The whole group cheered for her. Hooray! At that moment, out of the corner of his eye, Tom spotted something. On the other side of the huge window in the operating theatre, a crowd had gathered. The hospital principal, Sir Quentin Strillers, was standing at the front, and behind him were a dozen or so serious-looking doctors and nurses staring at them. The porter noticed that Tom was distracted by something. What's the matter, Tom? He whispered. Look, replied the boy. The porter, Amber, George and Sally all followed the boy's gaze to see the group standing the other side of the glass. Oh no, said Tom. We are in deep, deep trouble.